lots of deliberations happened behind the screen with the diplomats, everything deliberations happened. Finally, they decided to amend the Constitution of India because it's a law. Who can create a law? Parliamentarians can create a law. To create this new law, they need power to do that. So they amended the Constitution, which is called 366(12)A. The 12A was inserted in the Constitution of India, and they gave birth to goods and services tax. This goods and services tax it's a tax on supply of goods and services. It's very simple to understand. It's a tax on the supply of goods or services. So basically it talks about goods and services. So any supply of goods is done, government will ask you to pay tax. Any supply of services is done, government will ask you to pay tax. Okay. Now, going to that, what is GST? The very fundas of what is GST? I know GST is a tax. So what kind of tax it is? Earlier also we had tax, now also we have tax. What is the difference? GST is an indirect tax. So it is an indirect tax. So you have to understand what is indirect tax. See, in the indirect tax, the incidence of taxation will be on one person, and the impact of the taxation will be on the another person. Example, I paid tax to the government. Okay, that is incidence on tax. Incidence on tax is on me, but it is not my money. The impact, the money is collected from another person, because then it means the impact, the cost is borne by that another person. The impact is on the another person. We go by an example. I have given an example. Mr. Raghottaman manufactures electronic goods of ₹100. The goods cost is 100 rupees. He manufactures the goods. On the manufacturer, he pays excise duty of 10%. So now the price of the goods comes to 110 rupees. 10% on 100 rupees is 110. Now Raghottaman never stops that with that. He wants to sell his goods. When he sells the goods, the government will levy sales tax. Okay. So on the 110 rupees, there is 10% more on that, and he sells it for 121 rupees. Now the 100 rupees product has been sold to 121 rupees. Okay, he sells to Mr. Subram, who buys this product. Now, who is going to pay tax? Mr. Raghottaman has to pay tax because he is the seller. He is collecting the money from Mr. Subram. The incidence on tax is on Raghottaman. He is going to pay tax, but actual impact is on Subram because he is paying out of his pocket and giving 21 rupees tax to Raghottaman. So this is called indirect tax because the tax is not paid by Raghottaman. It is indirectly paid by Subram. So it's in a simple concept. Remember, indirect tax means incidence of taxation on one person, whereas the impact of tax is on the another person. This is what we call it as indirect tax. So GST is an indirect tax. I believe you have understood what is indirect tax. Now, coming to the next point, what is GST? Why you want GST? See, earlier there was many taxes. Why do you want GST? GST is a replacement of many indirect taxes. So it replaces many taxes. You can see on the screen there are balloons. Okay, each balloon has its own name. If you see the first balloon, excise duty is an indirect tax. Service tax is another indirect tax. ADE means additional duty of excise. Charge and says VAT, value added tax, purchase tax, luxury tax, entry tax, and here CST is central sales tax. CVD is countervailing duty. SAD is special additional duty. So all these are indirect taxes. Now GST replaced all these taxes and it came as a one tax, goods services tax. Now effective from 1st July 2017 onwards, there there was no excise duty, there was no service tax, there was no central sales tax, there was no entry tax, there was no purchase tax, there was no countervailing duty or special additional duty. So GST is a replacement of the old indirect taxes. Okay, now we saw both. Now we saw what is indirect tax, and now we saw it's a replacement tax. Next, fundamentally, this all revolves on goods and services. So we must know goods, the definition of goods and the definition of services. Goods means, it's in front of you, goods means every kind of movable property other than the money and securities, but includes actionable claims, growing crops, grass and other things attached to or forming part of the land which are agreed to be severed before supply or under a contract of supply. It means, goods means very simple understanding, any movable property is a goods under GST. Remember, keep it in your mind, open your mind and tell, any movable property is goods under GST. Exception, money is not good. Money, currency is not goods. Securities like shares, debentures, bonds, instruments, those are not goods. Okay, but actionable claims, for example, insurance claim, any claim which can be transferable are goods. And any crops, grass which can be severed, which can be cut and sold, goods. So very simple in simple parlance, goods means any movable property. Okay, coming to services, it's a very simple definition. Anything other than goods are services. Other than goods, other than money, other than securities. But includes activities relating to use of money, conversion of money, forex currency conversion, dollar into INR, that is a transaction. It's a services. So anything other than goods, so money and securities are services. So now you are aware what is goods under the GST Act, what is services under the GST Act. So these are fundas everyone needs to understand. Okay, now when next level, so we saw the birth, the indirect tax and the other things. Now we have to see the members. There are family members in GST. The GST didn't come to India alone. There is no one GST. There are 4 GSTs. So there are 4 family members in a GST. So who are the family members? If you see CGST, Central GST is one family member. State GST is another family member. Integrated GST, IGST is a third family member. UT GST, Union Territory GST is the 4th family member. So there are 4 family members in GST. You have to take the GST as your own family. Now tell me, why do you want 4 family members in a GST? Why can't it be one? The reason is, everyone knows India has a federal system of government. You are able to listen to me. If you have any net connection, please drop a please do chat box so that I will understand. Okay. See, why there are 4 family members? I tell you, India, there are many states. Okay, there are union of states are called central. Okay, and each state has its own sovereign power. Each state has its own power. Central cannot say, I have supreme power, you don't have power. This is because our country is unity in diversity. It's a federal country. It is following the federal policy under the Constitution of India. So no powers of an independent state can be deprived by the central government. So for that purpose, The GST has 4 family members. CGST, that means central is one member of the GST. That means in the entire GST process, central will have a role. And state GST is another member. In the entire process, state will also have a role to play. And then IGST, what is IGST? Central, we have talked about, state, we have talked about. What is IGST? IGST is, it is when a transaction between 2 states is happening, that is Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. So these 2 states are different in its own powers. When 2 states interact with each other, now the power will be vested with the central government. That means it is called 2 states integrated, and I call it as integrated GST. So that power will be in the hands of central government. That is why IGST member has come. And obviously, you are aware there are 8 union territories in the country, and for them, they need a separate power. That is why UTGST has come into play. So please remember there are 4 family members in the GST. Now, when we talk about family members, someone has to head the family. Someone has to be the leader of the family. Someone has to say, hey guy, you come here, do this. Hey guy, you go there, buy that. Don't do this, don't do that. Some instructions has to be given. Who can give that instruction? Only the head of the family can give that instruction. Who is the head of the family? Everyone knows who is the head of the family. Yeah, obviously it is GST Council is the head of the family. So GST Council, why you call it as GST Council as the head of the family? Because without GST Council confirmation or recommendation, GST law cannot be amended. Any change in the GST law or any modification in the GST law or any revision in the rates, if needs to be done, it has to be done only after GST Council recommends it. Only thereafter, the central government will take into consideration. Otherwise, GST law will not undergo any modification at all. So GST Council consists of various ministers, finance ministers of the respective states. So each state has its own representatives to represent their own interest before the GST Council. And the GST Council is headed by our own finance minister of the country, Nirmala Sitharaman. So now you are very clear the head of the family is GST Council. Okay. So next, now coming to the taxes. Now we saw how it came birth, all those things. Now taxes. Now GST has different types of taxes. There are obviously 3 types of taxes. One is CGST tax, SGST tax, IGST tax. Forget there is also UTGST tax. I'm not touching on the UTGST. I'm now touching on the CGST, SGST, IGST. Okay. So when the CGST tax will be applicable, when the SGST tax will be applicable, when this IGST tax will be applicable. Okay, fine. Before going into that, everyone must remember GST is a consumption-based tax. GST is a consumption-based tax. What is consumption-based tax? Very simple. It is a concept of indirect tax. We saw that Raghuttaman sold the goods. Okay, he paid the tax to the government, but actually who paid the money? Subram paid the money. So it is consumption. Who consumed the product? Subram consumed the product. So in the state in which the person consumed, that state need to get the revenue of the tax, need to get the portion of that tax. That is why it is called consumption-based tax. So GST is a consumption-based tax. For example, somebody sells goods from Karnataka to Kerala. Kerala consumes the goods. Okay, the Karnataka will collect the money from Kerala government, Kerala buyer, and it will remit to the government, CGST and SGST. That SGST portion will go to the Kerala government because the consumption happens in the state of Kerala. So therefore, please make yourself clear. GST is a consumption-based tax. So these are fundas which everyone needs to understand. I'm not getting into the complexities of GSTs. I'm only talking about the fundas of the GST. Okay, now before understanding getting into CGST, SGST, IGST, let us understand what is intrastate movement, interstate movement. Okay, it's very important to understand. We have examples to that. Mr. Anish from Bangalore, he sold goods to Mr. Sendil, who is a consumer in Bangalore itself. The cost of the goods is rupees 10,000. Okay, the GST rate is 18%. The 18% comprising CGST 9%, SGST 9%. Now, Anish, when he sells the goods to Mr. Sendil in Bangalore, okay, he collects the GST tax from Sendil and he pays to the government. When he pays to the government, that 18%, he will pay 9%, that is 900 rupees in the form of GST to the central government and 9% in the form of SGST to the state government. Here the state government is Karnataka because the buyer and the seller is in the same, are in the same state. So both buyer and the seller are in the same state. So this transaction is called intrastate movement. That is transaction within the same state. When the transaction within the same state, the GST will be levied in two components. One is in the form of CGST. Here you can see CGST, and another is in the form of SGST. So this is what intrastate movement. I hope you understand the concept of intrastate movement. Now let us go to interstate movement. Very simple. Satish from Tirupati sold goods to Miss Ajita, who is a consumer in Chennai. Same 10,000 rupees worth product, 18% GST. Okay. Now, Satish collects a tax from Ajita. Now he has to pay the tax to the government. Now will he pay the tax in the form of CGST, SGST? No. He will pay tax in the form of IGST. You can see it will be in the form of IGST. It means there is an integration of two states. A transaction between two states. One is from the Andhra Pradesh, Tirupati, Andhra Pradesh, and Chennai is in Tamil Nadu. So when the transaction is between two states, then the GST, then two states are integrated, and the GST is IGST is applicable on this transaction. Therefore, there is no CGST involved, there is no SGST involved, only IGST involved in this transaction. Thereby, Ajita will pay the tax to the central government in the form of IGST. And thereafter, the government, central government, out of that IGST, as per the compensation rules, they will send to this respective state their portion of compensation. That is a different scenario. Now, so this transaction is called interstate movement. Now you understand what is intrastate, just transaction within the same state. Interstate transaction between two states. When the intrastate movement, when the intrastate transaction takes place, CGST and SGST plays a role. When the interstate transaction takes place, IGST plays a role. Okay, I hope you understand. Let us move on to the next. Here there is a picture. You can see this person is from Delhi, sells goods worth 10,000 rupees. Thereby, SGST you can see 9,900 rupees he gives to Delhi government, and 900 rupees in the form of SGST, and 900 rupees, sorry, 1 minute. And 900 rupees he gives to in the form of CGST to the center. See, when this Delhi seller sells to another Delhi person, it happens. Okay. Now, when this Delhi guy sells to Punjab guy, goods worth 17,500. Now, the GST is IGST. Okay. And then Punjab to Punjab, it's SGST and CGST. That is, Punjab to Punjab is intrastate movement. Delhi to Punjab, between Delhi and Punjab is interstate movement. In interstate movement, IGST. In intrastate movement, it is CGST and SGST. Okay. This is all what we have so far discussing. What is CGST stands for central goods. It is a supplies within the state. SGST within, also supplies within the state. UTGST is supplies within the union territory. IGST is supply on interstate between one state and another state, and also import transaction. If you import some services, or if you import some goods, then the IGST will get into play. IGST will be there. Okay. Now let us move on to the levy and collections. So now, as I said, GST is a consumption-based tax. Now, who will levy and who will collect? Okay. Before that, what are the parameters for anyone to levy GST and collect GST? Okay. There are three parameters we have to primarily understand to ensure that levy takes place and collection takes place under GST. One is supply. Whether there is a supply, because first question you have to ask yourself, was there a supply? Supply is there? Yes. Supply is there, then you can apply GST. Second question, if there is a supply, when it was supplied, what was the value of the supply? Then you have to determine the time of supply, because the time determines various aspects and the value of supply. Why do you want to know the value of supply? Because you have to levy tax on the transaction value. So you have to determine the value of supply. Then the third parameter is location of supplier and place of supply. That means the buyer, where the buyer is, so where the seller is, and where the buyer is. If the buyer and the seller is in the same state, it is intrastate. Where the buyer and the seller are in two different states, it will be interstate. So these parameters need to be tested before levying and collection of GST. Now I'm going to touch upon the concept supply. Supply is very critical and very important to understand. Now, I have classified a supply in various parts. One fundamental is that if you call it as a supply, it must be a sale, a transfer, barter, exchange, a license, a rental, lease, or disposal. That means you have to sell the property, you have to transfer, or there must be an exchange, or there is a letting of immobile property, or licensing, I'm giving right to someone else. Very simple, there must be a transfer of goods from one place to another, from one person to another. There must be a change in the possession of goods from the seller to the buyer. That is supply. And second, the sale or transfer must have the consideration. I cannot do it without consideration. I have to collect money for that. So consideration is very important. And a third, and that should be my business. It should be in the course of or in furtherance of business. So there must be a sale, and the sale must be for consideration. There must be money involved in it, and it must be in the course of a furtherance of business. Selling is my business. If all the three tests are satisfied, then it is a supply. Okay. Now there are exceptions to this primary rule. You can make a supply even not in the course of business. Okay. You can import a services. We'll see one by one. These things we'll see one by one with examples. For example, I am coming to part A supply. Mr. Ramesh deals in mobile phones. He is a registered under GST. He is a registered person. He sells mobile phone for 25,000 rupees. For 25,000 rupees, he is selling the mobile phone. So he is not getting 25,000 back. Instead, he is getting old mobile phone, which he values it as 5,000 rupees and 20,000 as cash from the buyer. Okay. So obviously it's an exchange. It's a sale. It's a transfer. And there is a consideration involved in this transaction, which is 25,000 rupees. And selling mobile phones is the business of Mr. Ramesh. So it has happened in the course of business. Therefore, this is supply under GST. You call it as a